we're going to move gears and shift topics. I hope that this does not give you a little bit of vertigo, because we're shifting from a conversation about remittances by non-resident Indians and the taxation treatment of capital gains by these individuals to whether or not you should consider getting health insurance for your pet. And to talk about this, I'm joined by Dr. Nameeta Nadkarni, who's a veterinary surgeon. Thank you so much, doctor, for taking the time. Pleasure speaking with you. And I think this is an important conversation to have. Before we get into some of these insurance products where, I've been seeing advertisements out in the streets, and I've been seeing it online as well. First, let's talk about the cost involved in medical treatment of your pet, depending on the pet. And let's talk about dogs and cats primarily, because this is what most people have. What are the most common ailments that pets have to deal with, and what are the most serious ones?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, Alex, because I find that pet parents are not always prepared for the cost involved with treatment. And in all these years that I've been in practice, I've found that most often it's the chronic ailments when they have, say, diabetes, or they have cancer, or they have diseases that take long-term treatment and constant visits to the vet, that the cost can be quite high. Sometimes, unfortunately, you can also encounter situations where there's like an emergency surgery that may need to happen along with hospitalization, which is also something that can suddenly, burn a hole in the wallet. The cost can go for treatment of chronic illnesses anywhere from, you could be spending around 10,000 to 15,000 a month, and that can go on for like a year or a couple of years. If it comes to like a major surgery, you could be looking at, based on what surgery it is and which clinic you're treating your pet at, it can range anywhere from 30,000 to around 80,000, or even upwards of a lakh, to include hospitalization, which can be quite a big sum in a short time for a lot of pet parents. So yes, pet insurance is the need of the hour at the moment.
Okay. Would you say that, and I know that it's going to be tough to classify here, but between dogs and cats, in your experience and the way that you've dealt with these things, is there a difference in the cost of treatment for both of these species?
Not really. It's just that dogs are the more popular pet right now, but we're seeing a trend towards cats being more favored now, especially in cities where there are smaller apartments. But cost-wise, the cost is pretty much the same for both.
Okay. You mentioned chronic illnesses, things like diabetes and other issues as well. I would think that arthritis for certain breeds of dogs and certain other aspects that are related to obesity for dogs is pretty common. What are the more serious illnesses? Cancer is something that occurs quite often for older pets, right?
Yes. So 1 in 5 dogs, or 1 in 4 dogs, that's pretty much the statistic, will get cancer at some point in their life. And this is older dogs. And by then, they pretty much have arthritis, like you mentioned. Some breeds are predisposed to genetic conditions. So bigger breeds like Labradors and Golden Retrievers have something called hip dysplasia, which is like a genetic malfunction of the hip, which leads to early arthritis. So those are things that have to be managed long term, along with cats. More commonly, they will get something called chronic kidney disease as they age. So the kidneys don't function as well, which would require a change in diet, require a lot of medication, and sometimes fluid therapy, including monitoring, constant visit to the vets. So that adds up a lot in the long run, especially in older pets.
Okay. Now, I have come across this recently, but you would know better than me, doctor. That's why I'm speaking to you today, which is the insurance that was available for pets. From what I'm aware, because I had a conversation about 6 months back, and we spoke about taking care of a pet. It wasn't very prevalent and available at that time. Has it increased now, the availability of health insurance for a pet?
Yeah, so I think the lacunae there is the awareness. So not a lot of pet parents are aware that they can get pet insurance. While there aren't as many options available, a lot of new players are coming into the market which are bringing pet insurance to pet parents. Bajaj Allianz has been there for quite some time, but I think it's the lack of awareness that there can be such a thing as pet insurance that is causing the the gap between pet insurance actually reaching the pet parent.
Okay. Now, so you will also be aware of this, which is why I'm asking, in terms of coverage, do the same rules apply? And what is covered and what is not covered? What should somebody bear in mind, doctor, before they decide to go ahead and take an insurance like this?
Yeah, so like I said, there are lots of companies right now which are providing pet insurance. So it's very important to like do your research and see what works best for your pet. But by and large, most of them will cover surgeries, but they don't cover elective procedures. What that means is they don't cover procedures by choice. So they will not cover any cosmetic procedures. If you want to crop your dog's ears, for example, which honestly is not legal in a lot of places also. But if you want to neuter your pet or if you want to spay your pet, things like that are not covered by insurance. Then they cover a lot of hospitalization. Some insurance covers will also cover theft. So they also cover, they will give a reward to the person who does find your pet. Some will cover mortality associated cost. What that means is they will cover things like the funeral cost, or they will cover the cost of euthanasia in case your pet needs to be let go. But what they will not cover, most of them, is vaccinations. They don't cover illnesses that might occur if you don't vaccinate your pet. Obviously, they are not going to cover things like if something has maliciously happened to your pet, like if intentional harm has been done to your pet and that's why they're sick. So those things are not covered, but a lot of things are covered with insurance. By most of the companies pretty much have the same coverage.
Okay. Now, when it comes to health insurance, one of the factors to bear in mind is that cashless settlement as opposed to a reimbursement that you claim later. In your opinion, and also, are you aware that cashless takes place, and is that a preferred way to go about things?
I don't think cashless is done a lot in the pet insurance sector at the moment because there is no uniformity with the process in terms of the vet clinics as well. So most often people have to go through the reimbursement route.
Okay. And in your experience, and of course this is anecdotal evidence, so we can't really go by this, and we will be reaching out to companies to speak about this product as well. Are there problems that you have encountered with regard to claim settlement?
No, so far no. So I have not had a lot of pet parents actually have insurance, but I've had experience with some amount of pet parents who did have insurance. That did not seem to be any issues with the process of claim settlement. The only time that there was a problem was when this dog had intra-abdominal testicles, or the testicles were not in the normal location, which is why he required a surgery. But they did not cover it because for them it came under elective procedures, as in a procedure by choice. So that is the fine print that a pet parent needs to look into before they decide on what insurance works best for them.
Got it. All right. Doctor, thanks so much for joining in, and important conversation to have. I think the industry has taken a step in the right direction.
Yes, absolutely. And it was an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thanks so much. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Your Money Matters. We speak about everything, remember, personal finance related. So you can find us on all of our social media platforms, and we'll be back on Monday to get you more. Do stay tuned. This is NDTV Profit.